Hey guys, Skittlerampage here. Welcome back to a new video. I do hope you're enjoying your day today. So today we're going to be going over 5 Funko Pop lines that were canceled years ago. So recently I've been doing a lot more short form videos, kind of talking about some Funko Pops that we were going to get, and there were some really cool lines, and I figured I would turn it into a longer video for you guys, just to go over some really cool pops we could have gotten. Now on that topic, I do want to ask the question of the day, which is, what is a Funko Pop Funko hasn't made yet that you would love to see in the future? Alrighty guys, so let's go to get started with our list today. First up, we have Dead by Daylight. Yes, we were going to get Funko Pops at one point. So the line was supposed to include the Wraith as well as the Doctor here. These were both of their molds and they look so good. Covered in blood, the Doctor has electricity on his arm. I'm sure Funko would have done a glow somehow with that. Now the other two expected were the Huntress as well as Claudette there, and I would have loved that Huntress pop. One of my favorite villains to use in Dead by Daylight. Now, even though I haven't put like hundreds upon hundreds of hours in Dead by Daylight, it is a pretty enjoyable game. Now, if you don't know what Dead by Daylight is by chance, it's basically a game where you go around as the killer or the survivors. There's 4 survivors or 1 killer, and as the villain of the match, you have to go around and take everybody out, and as the survivors, you have to go around fixing generators to open up the door to escape. And while the details make it sound very simple, it's very stressful and sometimes terrifying. Now, Dead by Daylight has done all kinds of collabs. They've done stuff with Resident Evil, they've done stuff with Chucky, they also did some stuff with Halloween, so collaborations are nothing new to them, and they were supposed to do a Funko one. However, after the concept art announcement, later on we actually got this message from Dead by Daylight, and it stated, "We regret to inform you that due to circumstances beyond our control, our previously announced Dead by Daylight Funko Pop partnership will sadly not see the light of day." That was a great play on words, I gotta admit. "We realize that many of you were eagerly awaiting their release and that this news may be disappointed, but don't fret, we have plenty more exciting collaborations on the way." So with that official announcement from Dead by Daylight, it was done. We never got anything more on these Funko Pops to this day. It's been a few years now. Again, I still think this would have been a fantastic line, and the concept art themselves looked really great, lots of details in there, and I think these would have sold at least pretty well for the most part. Unfortunately, Dead by Daylight nor Funko really said more than that. They didn't say who was at fault, so we just gotta assume that they couldn't really work out the deal. Moving on, this next line brings me pretty great sadness, and that is Sword Art Online here. So if you remember a while back, years ago, some concept art for the last Sword Art Online wave did actually leak out. This included Asuna, a brand new Kirito, Leafa, a brand new character at the time, as well as Sinon. And this is why it brings me great sadness, because Sinon is one of my favorite characters. So many people wanted to see this pop made, and then nothing ever came of it. Weirdly enough though, we actually did get every other pop from this leaked concept art, which did include the new Asuna with 2 variations, as well as Leafa there. However, with Kirito, we actually got 2 variations of him, but we didn't get the specific one in the concept art of him swinging the sword like that. So I'm not really sure if they just decided to change the entire mold last minute, or they just went a different direction and we never got that, Kirito art you saw. But the one out of the 4 we never officially got was Sinon there, and again, fantastic character. That was her GGO look, which I would have just loved to see as a pop. That would have been a great addition to the Sword Art Online set. And I still think there's a lot they can do with Sword Art Online. So I do hope in the future they do at least one more wave, because there's a couple characters I would still love to see. Now next we do have another anime line here, but it's actually a single pop in the set. So for Demon Slayer here, if you remember the original announcement of Susumaru and Yahaba, both of them did actually have Glow Chase, or at least they were supposed to have Glow Chase. And while we did get Susumaru with her Glow Chase, we did not get Yahaba with the Glow Chase. And here's a full look at that concept art. It was supposed to have him with his directional arrows all around him, but it just ended up not coming. And they did actually replace it with just the common, with a glow variation exclusive to previews. And that was just so lame. Why are the clothes glowing? I can get the eye glowing on his hand, but the clothes made no sense. This really felt like a last-ditch effort to just make a little bit more money on top of the common that they probably knew wouldn't sell very well. If they gave it that original Glow Chase with the directional arrows around him, it would have been fantastic. However, I can see where the mold might not have worked, because it's possible that all the arrows are just breaking off, or just overall the mold overall the mold sculpt does not work, and it would just lead to a lot of quality control issues. That's my best guess as to what happened with that specific Yahaba pop. Either way though, as I've said since these pops were officially released years ago, they were not needed by any means in the Demon Slayer collection. These are such low tier demons early on in Demon Slayer. It's like, why even bother with them? Nobody talks about these demons. People want the upper moons. Basically, make the main characters, you know, a couple cool random exclusives here and there, and then make the upper moons. And, you know, we shouldn't go much further than that. Like that Temple Demon moment. Who asked for that? You know, like, there's so much fluff in the Demon Slayer line, unfortunately, and Susumaru and Yahaba are there. At least Susumaru actually kind of looks cool in the mold. Yahaba was just a disappointment. Next up for DC fans, we have a couple Arkham Funko Pops that were never officially released. And I've had a few people talking about these in the comments. So here's some concept art from like 5 to 7 years ago, I want to say, including Mr. Freeze, Robin, Catwoman, and Scarecrow there. And this is essentially an Arkhamverse set because some of these pops take place in different games. But I do gotta say, these designs just look amazing. Couldn't really find too many details as to why Funko just decided to never make these. It is always possible they could still come in the future. They still have the concept art, and people really like the looks of these, and they wanted them to release since all those years ago. What's actually pretty interesting, though, is that they've still been making Arkham game pops, like this new Batman over at GameStop of one of the covers in that, you know, style with the blood and all that. So like I said, they are still paying attention to the license, and they still do have the license, so maybe eventually we will get these pops. The next lineup of canceled Funko Pops was Reservoir Dogs here. So back in 2017 at Toy Fair, we actually got an announcement of 3 pops. However, later in the year, sharing over from IDW Collectibles, a long time ago, it says Reservoir Dog Pops update. You may remember these being announced at Toy Fair back in February, however they have been canceled by Funko. Now this actually came to a shock by a lot of fans because a lot of people were very, very excited for these. I think it had to do with licensing rights on these in terms of just like, you know, whoever owns the movie and just a lot of issues at the time. No official details out there. And given now that it's almost been a decade since these were originally revealed, we're probably not getting them. Well guys, those are 5 Funko Pops or lines that were canceled in the past and we still have not seen to this day. Let me know in the comments below if you guys would have purchased any of these pops that never ended up being made. I definitely would have picked up the Huntress from Dead by Daylight when I was playing the game at the time. Maybe not now so much, but if I ever got back into the game and they made it, I might pick it up because she's just one of my favorites to use. As far as the Arkham line, when I was collecting more Arkham pops, I probably would have picked up that set most likely. And then the Xenon, obviously, yes, I would have picked that up. I have the entire Sword Online set over there, so I would have grabbed that for sure, and I would have even grabbed that other variation of Kirito too. But overall, these are definitely some really cool sets that Funko could have made, so maybe we'll see them in the future, who knows. I do want to thank you so much for watching this video. If you guys want to see more videos like this style, just talking about older pops that we never saw or anything of the sort, I can try to put one more together for you guys, so make sure to let me know in the comments below. With that being said though, I do want to say a big shout out to all the awesome Patreon supporters of the channel. You guys are amazing for supporting myself and the channel. If you guys are interested and want to check out the Patreon, the link is down below. We have a Patreon Discord where we share a lot of information, news, restocks, updates, links, and more. And finally, make sure you follow me on all my social medias at Skittlerampage over on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and my Facebook page so you can stay up to date. All right, love you guys. See you guys in the next one. See you guys later. Bye.